What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports, and finally, for the love of God, we could talk about a Flyers win. Finally, hallelujah, it's about time they ended that dreadful losing streak. Now, please let this spiral into something good for this team, even though this game does not go without some negatives, because there's definitely a lot of negatives through this game, too. But also a ton of positives. A ton of positives. You got to take the wins when you can get them at this point, especially when you start the season off the way that you do. Finally, like I said, you could just talk about a win. Winning 7-5 over the Minnesota Wild, a team who hadn't lost in regulation at all this year. I feel like there was also a stat where they haven't trailed at all this season, so got to find a way to get a win. And it was probably one of those situations where the Flyers eventually had to end their losing streak, and the Wild were eventually going to lose in regulation. Maybe it was just one of those results, but like I said, there are a ton of positives and a ton of negatives that you can take from this game. The major positives is the first line combo of Sean Couturier, Travis Konecny, and Matvei Michkov. I think for the time being, you found your first line, because those guys combined for 12 points on the night. 12. It's a big number. It's a big number for your first line. Sean Couturier, he had the hat trick. He had 5 points on the day. Travis Konecny, he also had 5 points. And Matvei Michkov, he had 2 points on the day with a goal and an assist. That line was just dominant. They were finding ways to contribute, and all of that was 5-on-5. Well, except for Travis Konecny's goal, that was on the power play. But majority of, I would say 95% of the offensive production that the first line had today was 5-on-5. So they got a lot of even strength. You got a lot of pluses on the stat sheet. Travis Konecny a +4, Sean Couturier a +5, and Matvei Michkov a +4. Just an outstanding game. And a game that you really needed to have to end the losing streak. Now, like I said, this doesn't go without the negatives, because the Flyers scored 2 goals very early into the game. Sean Couturier off of a nice shot that, rebound comes out there. He's battling for the puck in the crease, and he buries it for the first goal of the game. And then, Matvei Michkov, Travis Konecny, they set up Nick Seeler for the second goal not that long after the first goal. So it's a 2-0 Flyers lead very early into the game. And then for offense, there was barely any offense for the rest of the first and the entire second period. The Flyers, in totality, in the first 2 periods, had 6 shots. 3 in the first and 3 in the second. I think the only dangerous chance that they had after that was, I believe it was a break for Garnett halfway and Morgan Frost. It was a 2-on-1. Frost would have passed over the halfway, then halfway feeds it perfectly back to Frost, and Frost, of course, misses the net. He just sends it through the crease and past everybody. So nothing happens there. But in terms of just anything else, there was nothing. Nothing. You do get the goal on the delayed penalty in the second period late on there. Matvei Michkov throws it from the point, doing his thing with time and space with the puck. He's very dangerous when he has all that time and space. Throws the biscuit on net with a screen or 2 in front. Goes in. Flyers take a 3-2 lead there, but then all the bad stuff happens basically in that second period, because with the way Minnesota was taking it to you from basically the rest of the first and throughout the entire second period, you were not going to keep them off the score sheet. You just were not. It was not going to happen. And it all came crumbling down basically in that second period. First goal, Kaprizov on the point, shoots it, gets deflected in front by Brock Faber, becomes a 2-1 game, and then basically not that long after, I believe it was less than 30 seconds, you got Marcus Foligno off of a rush, 4-flying goon, and he beats Harrison, ties the game up. So that was annoying, and this was all basically in the last few minutes of the second period. That's when basically all hell broke loose for both teams, really. So Faber, Foligno, they tie the game up, and then you get the delayed penalty in the offensive zone. Michkov scores there on the 6-on-5, makes it a 3-2 game. But then the Flyers, They take a stupid penalty at the end. I believe this was either for too many men on the ice. I forget which specifically this penalty was for, but I think it was for too many men on the ice, or it was just, a stupid penalty by, I forget who. I think it was for too many men on the ice, if I'm not mistaken, and Wild managed to cash in there. They tie the game up once again, and then you go on the power play, I believe, to start the third period, if I'm not mistaken, or it's 4-on-4. It's one of those type of situations. But it's tied 3-3 going into the third period. And then Minnesota, they score early. It's Foligno once again. More defensive breakdowns, and then that happens. Then the Flyers, they finally go on the power play after, the refs were just terrible in this goddamn game the entire time. So Michkov scores on the delayed call, which would have given the Flyers a power play if he did not score. But hey, he scored. I'll take that any day of the week. But there were so many chances. There was a couple of interferences on Minnesota that they didn't call in the third period. They were just missing calls left and right. Definitely wasn't a factor in the outcome of the game, but still, it's just annoying when you're not getting penalties called when they probably should have. But I digress. In that point, the Flyers do eventually go on the power play in that first few 5 minutes of the third period. Get a little nice passing down there. Get a shot from the point from Morgan Frost. He's doing his thing. And of course, there's a motorcycle going by me. But I digress. It's crazy around the neighborhood today. We're doing our little trick or treat stuff. They always do it around here the Saturday before Halloween. So there's a lot of cars outside. So I apologize if any more noises come after that. But like I said, Morgan Frost doing his thing on the point. Flyers are doing a little nifty passing on this power play. Morgan Frost sends the puck on net. A couple of rebounds. One lays out for Travis Konecny on the sharp angle, which is a very off angle, and he finds a way to bury the puck into the net, ties the game up there at 4 apiece. So, when you get a power play, you find a way to cash in. Nice to see that. Then Sean Couturier, almost halfway into the period, just a fantastic puck battle. Great stuff. Dude's down low, doing the business, and he finds a way just to keep burying that rebound, find a way to get it past Gustafsson, and he does, gives the Flyers a 5-4 lead. But then, not so long later, Middleton, shot from the point, somehow just beats Ersson. He got a piece of it. There was no really screen or anything there. It's a save that he has to make. It's a save that he has to make. And there were a couple of those throughout the game as well that Ersson just didn't look sharp. Did not look sharp at all, especially the goal at the end of the second period for the Wild on the power play. That was, there were situations where he left rebounds go just in complete wrong directions. He wasn't able to cover the puck. The rebound control for Ersson today just has not been good, and that's been a common theme for him, so that's nothing that's just new. For some reason, he's just really having trouble with the rebound control and putting rebounds in the wrong direction in the worst possible times, and there were definitely some factors there, and also just that last goal by Middleton to tie the game up. It's a puck there where I'm not even sure if there's a screen. There definitely wasn't a deflection, but the puck, it gets a piece of Ersson. It goes right through his arm right here, squeaks out, and ends up in the net. That's a save you got to make. You just cannot keep letting those things spiral into something. And, the goaltending for the Flyers, like I said many times, definitely was going to be the biggest concern. So it's really been showing that, ugly head now for a little bit at this point. And this was really, in my opinion, Ersson's first bad game, in my opinion. I think he's been fine for the most part. But right now, you really just can't have fine and then whatever Ivan Fedotov is in the backup position. So though there is talk that Kolosov might be called up for tomorrow night's game against Montreal. So we'll see what he's made of, because they do need to make that decision by October 31st in order for if he's staying in North America or if he's going back over to the KHL. So definitely this will be a good, test for him to see if that helps in the decision process to help him stay in North America, because I would not be shocked if he finds a way to earn a role, even though his numbers down in the AHL are not good either. But, at anything, if you can just find some good caliber goaltender play, maybe that can help you there. Hopefully Kolosov, because he wanted to play in the NHL. He wanted to play in the NHL, so hopefully, he earns his spot there. Hopefully that's the case. So, going back to the game, it's tied 5-5. Getting down to the dwindling minutes. This was kind of feeling like an overtime game basically from the start. It just had that feeling with the way that the game was going insanely back and forth. Flyers, dwindling minutes. They drive the net, puck scramble, puck battle in the crease, net mount scramble. It looked like the puck was going to go in to begin with, as Couturier once again is battling down low in the net crease. A lot of guys are battling down there, and in comes Rasmus Ristolainen to just bury it, to make sure the puck goes in, and it gives the Flyers the 6-5 lead in the dwindling minutes. That was fun to watch. That was fun to witness. So, 6-5. Now, I believe this was, a couple of penalties called there as well. I believe halfway it was originally going to be called for a trip at the worst possible time. But then, thankfully, they got into a little bit of a scrum and the refs evened it out a little bit. So it became 4-on-4 hockey. Minnesota pulls the goaltender for 5-on-4, the extra attacker there. And the Flyers, they force a turnover, bring it out into the neutral zone. Sean Couturier buries it into the empty net, gets himself the hat trick, ends off the 5-point day for him. Really good showcasing there from Sean Couturier on the first line. Just a really good day for the first line in general. This was just a game that the Flyers needed offensively, especially at 5-on-5. They really needed this. Sean Couturier really needed this. Travis Konecny really needed this. And who knows, maybe the influence of Matvei Michkov could be the case. Just could be the case. The guy has 9 points in 8 games played. He's above point per game. He's fantastic. He's a star. He's a superstar in the making. He's a star right now, in my opinion, but he's a superstar in the making. This kid is just fun to watch. He is fun to watch. Just simple enough. The dude makes a difference every time he's on the ice. And he's only played 8 games so far in the NHL. It's fantastic stuff. It's fun hockey. And this guy is going to be great for a long, long, long time. Just the creativity that he has, especially when he has the puck on his stick, when he has time and space to do his thing. He can make you miss. He can make you break your ankles. He can find a way to get to the open space. He'll ring a puck onto the net, or he'll find a way to get a savvy pass out there, especially with some of the passes that he does on the power play to find Konecny in the slot. He's good on both sides, man. And he really got knocked for his defensive game. I think he's been fine on that aspect, but we're really not worried about Matvei Michkov's defense. First and foremost, this guy's going to be an offensive juggernaut for you for years to come. It's that's what we're going to expect of him. And right now, he's just blowing the roof off the place. Sadly, there's no overall team success with that factor, but it's not hurting his game at all. He's still finding ways to get on the score sheet, which is really good. That shows you how good of a player that he actually is. And it kind of looks like right now the Flyers have their first line. And it definitely is the best case because, you have your 2 top players up there with Konecny and Couturier. And I think, even though I've knocked Couturier a little bit here, I still think the best case for him is to play on the first line because I still think he is capable of playing good hockey in the National League. I still think Flyers fans rip into him a little too much. They give him a little too much hate on Sean Couturier's aspect, but he had himself a night, and that was something that was really needed from Sean Couturier because he looked good. He looked really good, especially down low in a net front presence. It was really good down there. So that was fun to see. It was fun to see. 7-5 win, first win on home ice. Give the fans something to be excited about at least. And basically you follow that up back tomorrow against the Montreal Canadiens at 7 o'clock. Most likely that'll be Kolosov's first career NHL start. We'll see how the Flyers can just continue on that offensive outburst. Montreal is not a good team at all. I believe their defense has not been very good whatsoever, nor has their goaltending. So we're going to see, this Flyers team can find a way to string some wins together here because they definitely need to. They definitely need to. The first step was ending that losing streak, and that definitely was eventually going to end. But now we got to see this, carry on here as the days go along. And as I'm looking here at the stats for the Flyers in general to start the season, so you got both Matvei Michkov and Travis Konecny with 9 points in 8 games. Both equally have 4 goals and 5 assists. I definitely think that helps for Travis Konecny. This was his biggest offensive day so far of the season. 5 points on the day, 1 goal, 4 assists. So definitely a really good day for TK there. He really needed that. Matvei Michkov has just been very consistent as the days have been going on. Yeah, Coots with the hat trick. He has 6 points on the season. He is a +1. Tippett has 5 points with 1 goal. Scott Lawn has 4 points. And then so on and so forth. I really want to see the goaltending numbers because, Jesus Christ, they're probably terrible. They are probably terrible. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sam Emerson with 6 games played, 5 starts, 2-2-1. With a 3.56 goals against and an 8.72 save percentage, and then Fedotov with a 5.35 goals against and an 8.21 save percentage. My God, the goaltending definitely was going to be the biggest Achilles heel of this Flyers team. It 100% was going to be. And there's also some news that I did not get to. The Flyers officially sent Jet Luchenko back down to Gulf of the OHL, the Storm. So I think at the end of the day, even though I was more raving for him to be in the NHL roster, he's been sitting the past couple of games, definitely lowering himself in the lineup and not really getting onto the ice. So it definitely was the best possible situation for him to go back to the OHL. So he can get consistent playing time, work on his offensive game. And I do think he'll probably be because Gulf is still not a good team, so he'll probably be a prime trade candidate in the OHL to hopefully being traded to a better team. So if he does get traded to a better team, he plays in the World Juniors. He, plays some playoff hockey down there for, Memorial Cup stuff, just OHL playoff stuff. If he can get to himself on a better team trade-wise, that'll definitely be help for his, growing confidence, growing his offensive game, growing his overall game. But I do think there's still some benefits for him playing up here in the NHL for the short stint that he did have, just learning from the veterans, how to, operate yourself on a game-to-game basis in the National Hockey League, and I think that will do him some service on that point. So I wasn't really the biggest fan of him sitting a couple of games in a row. I kind of wished he just sent them down immediately, but what's done is done. You send him back down to the OHL, get himself reacclimated back there, and have him continue on, because who knows, maybe he could be a shot for the Flyers roster next season. He gets us a little taste of National Hockey League action, and maybe he can find himself on the roster next year. You never know. You never know. It'll definitely be fun if he does make the World Junior roster, which I would expect him to make the World Junior roster. See him showcase himself there. That'll be fun. Hopefully, at least, if he does find a way to make the Team Canada roster. So that'll be fun to see if anything can happen there. But looking at the upcoming schedule for the Flyers, obviously after tonight's game, they got the back-to-back. Second half there tomorrow night against the Montreal Canadiens in the Wells Fargo Center. Then they close out October with a Tuesday game, this Tuesday in Boston against the Bruins, and then they play on Halloween at home against the St. Louis Blues, and then they get into their November schedule, which they do play Boston at home on the 2nd. Then they go out on the road for 3 games, Carolina, Tampa, Florida, and then basically the rest of their November schedule. We're not going to go that deep into the schedule. No reason for that whatsoever. But we'll see what happens here. And this is basically just coming up here on Twitter, just talking about Kolosov. So this was a couple of days ago, actually yesterday, from Anthony DeMarco. So he was basically talking about stuff that Frank Saravalli said on Daily Faceoff. So he said, among other looming decisions, as Frank Saravalli wrote about earlier, it sounds like there is a real chance that Alexei Kolosov will start for the Flyers on Sunday. And then Anthony DeMarco just retweeted that. Him retweeted his own tweet 25 minutes ago with the 2 eyeball emoji. So most likely it sounds that the Flyers will be calling up Alexei Kolosov to make his NHL debut tomorrow night. Would not be shocked. Would not be shocked whatsoever. So that'll be interesting from that case. What's Kolosov's numbers in his few AHL games? I actually do want to see that. I know they're not good. I know they haven't really been dynamic whatsoever, if anything there. So let's see. What have Kolosov's numbers been down like in the AHL this year? So far in 4 AHL games, he's 1-2-1 with a 3.29 goals against and an 8.75 save percentage. Interesting. Meanwhile, the Flyers have another prospect over in Russia, playing for SKA actually. 19 years old, Yegor Zavragin. Dude's been killing it. He's been fantastic. He started on Sochi, the same team that Michkov played for the past couple of seasons. And Sochi is a bad team. And he won, I believe, his first and he was putting up amazing numbers in Sochi. So he played 6 games in Sochi. He had a 2.21 goals against and a 941 save percentage, 3-3 record there with a shutout. And so far for 6 games with SKA St. Petersburg, he has a 208 goals against and a 929 save percentage, 5-0-0 with a shutout. This kid's 19 years old, and he's the starting goaltender basically for one of the top teams in the KHL, the top franchises in the KHL. Man, the Flyers might have found something there special there with Yegor Zavragin. But right now, there's really nothing about this kid coming over early or anything like that. He still has 3 years, including this year, on his contract in the KHL. So he's only 19 years old. Let the guy play games over there in the KHL and the Pro League. Let him continue to get better because his numbers just over the years have just been completely dominant. In the MHL last year, he was dominant. In the VHL, he was dominant. MHL, VHL, just all dominant stuff. He's been dominant basically his entire career. The only time he wasn't dominant was in a under 17 league in Russia, and basically since then he's been dominant. Fantastic even. My God. Just completely fantastic. In the MHL playoffs in 2023, he was really good. He was really good in the VHL playoffs last year. Just overall, really good stuff. So we'll see how that continues. He was the Flyers' 3rd-round draft pick in 2023, so we'll see how that continues to move on there. And we do have a voicemail here on the Anytime Hotline, so we might as well get to that. Let's see what Sean here has to say about this Flyers win.
Solid effort by the Flyers today and a much-needed victory. They took the second period off for sure, but the first and third were pretty strong. Congratulations to Sean Couturier for his accomplishment and the hat trick today. Solid game for Rasmus Ristolainen on the back end. I mean, he definitely was more assertive today, stepped up, took some minutes that York would have had, scored the eventual game-winning goal. I mean, big win for the Flyers. I mean, the games that I've seen, it's not for lack of effort. I mean, they're working hard. They're getting chances. They just haven't had the results. Today they did. My question to you in closing, is it Fedotov tomorrow or do we see Kolosov? I kind of like to see Kolosov. I mean, that goal that Ersson gave up on the little wrist shot at the blue line was ridiculous. I have a feeling Kolosov gets the game at home, or Fedotov rather, gets the game at home, but I would like to see Kolosov myself between the pipes.
I think it's going to be Kolosov, just because now when you see that tweet from Anthony DeMarco, like I said 25 minutes ago, where he retweeted the thing from Frank Saravelli, I think it's most likely happening. And I think there was also a tweet from Kevin Weeks not that long ago where he hashtagged the Flyers stuff and he showed the picture of Alexei Kolosov. So I think most likely Kolosov is going to be called up to make his NHL debut tomorrow. I think that's going to be the case for most likely there. Oh yeah, also something that I forgot to mention too, Cam York's also going to be out for 2 weeks, upper body injury. So I think it was from the Wednesday game in Washington where he took a hit into the boards kind of awkwardly and he didn't really return to the rest of the game. So it probably has something to do with that. Hopefully it hasn't not a shoulder or a hip injury or anything like that. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, definitely a good game for Risto. Definitely getting off that pairing with Zamula. Zamula still is terrible. My God, Zamula still sucks. So thankfully, I guess Risto is off that pairing. He did look good with Sanheim, though, so that was definitely good. So really the D pairings that you saw were Drysdale with Sealer, and I think Drysdale definitely looks more comfortable playing with Nick Sealer rather than Eric Johnson, because Nick Sealer definitely is more defensively sound and just more polished than, Eric Johnson basically in the last stages of his career. Risto playing with Travis Sanheim, that was a pair they used a couple of years ago, so there's definitely some chemistry there. And then you had, Zamula over there with Johnson. That definitely is the weak, the black sheep of the pairings there. So, just finally get a win. Finally, get a good win to talk about there. They need to carry this over tomorrow, though. Can't have this type of win and then lose tomorrow to another bad team with the Montreal Canadiens. You definitely cannot lose to them. And just looking at Montreal in general, just to see what they've been doing, because I know their numbers have not been good. No, they are 2-4-1. So they're basically in the same boat as the Flyers. 5 points on the year. They just played one less game from the looks of it. and they played a lot of their games at home. It looks like they played 5 games at home and 2 games on the road. So we'll see there. Like, what are the stats going on here for the Montreal Canadiens? Is there anybody that stands out, or is the entire team just struggling from a standpoint? So Cole Caulfield, he's got 6 goals in 7 games, 7 points there. Suzuki's got 7 points. Slavkovsky's got 6 points. What has their defense been like, actually? What has their defense been like? Really can't tell. A lot of minuses there, which is, I guess, to be expected. What's Leighton Hudson been doing? He's got 4 points in 7 games. He's a -5. I think just overall their defense has not been good. Yeah, David Savard there's a -10. New Hook's a -7. Kirby Doc's a -10. Jesus Christ. My goodness. Their goaltending, Montembeault, he's got a 909 save percentage, but he's got a 316 goals against, and Primo's got an 880 save percentage with a 421 goals against. So we'll see what happens tomorrow in that case. We'll see. We'll see. Can never guarantee anything with this Flyer squad. Here we go. Yep, Kevin Kurtz also posted this on Twitter 51 minutes ago. Expect the Flyers to announce they are recalling Kolosov for tomorrow's game. Not sure if he's playing yet. And then Anthony DeMarco also said, also believe Emil Andre will be coming up. Interesting. Definitely some interesting stuff there. So it looks like Andre will be called up, and it looks like Kolosov will be called up, but we still don't know if he's starting it. But I would not be shocked if they start Kolosov tomorrow. I would not be shocked in the slightest if that is the case. So yeah, good win for the Fly guys. Good win for the Fly guys. Got to keep it going now. Got to keep it going. Can't get a win like this and then just go right back to losing. Just can't be that case. Just cannot be that case. I know it's a rebuild. I know it's all that stuff, but I don't want you going on these extended losing streaks. Got to show some signs of progression with certain players. You definitely do. Got to keep it going. Got to keep it going. Got to get some wins here. Definitely got to do that. So that'll do it for today, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning in as always. So don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. And also use the code TTPSPORTS. $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Do not pass it up. Appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. And I will see you next time.